Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a really fascinating strategy that honestly challenges everything we've ever been taught about building wealth. I know a lot of you are probably sitting there right now, right? Trying to figure out that perfect balance between your studies and actually making some real money. Maybe you're on a super tight budget, literally living off cup noodles and quietly wondering to yourself, was this expensive degree actually the right move? Well, listen, you're absolutely not alone in feeling that way. And in today's Explainer, we're going to explore a completely different path.
Okay, let's just dive right into the numbers here because they are incredibly revealing. A staggering 23% of bachelor's degrees actually have a negative return on investment. I mean, let that sink in for a second. Nearly a quarter of the time, getting a degree is actively draining your wealth over the long term rather than building it. You go in thinking you're getting a golden ticket to financial freedom, and instead, you're basically handed a financial anchor.
And man, it really compounds when we hit this next number, 41%. That is the percentage of college grads who are currently working in jobs that don't even require a degree. Look, if you've been feeling frustrated about your financial trajectory lately, this data absolutely validates that. The traditional path, well, it's clearly not the guaranteed safety net we all thought it was.
You know, the author of our source material today understands this reality firsthand. His own teachers literally wrote him off as a lost cause, which actually pushed him to just drop out of school at 16. He ended up stuck on this total hamster wheel, working an apprenticeship making wooden trash cans for a crazy $2 an hour, basically going nowhere fast, until he stumbled onto a massive, completely overlooked opportunity hiding right in plain sight. So let's get into the first part, the Suburban Goldmine strategy. We're doing a bit of a contrarian pivot here. We're moving completely away from that expected traditional career path and looking at where the actual quiet money is being made. Look, while everyone else out there is obsessing over, chasing the next flashy, super competitive tech unicorn out in Silicon Valley, there is a highly lucrative, totally unsexy reality sitting right in your own neighborhood. It's the contrast between chasing that one-in-a-million glamorous startup dream and just tapping into quiet, highly profitable local service businesses that are practically invisible, simply because they're so boring. And what do we actually mean when we say boring? Well, we're talking about places like laundromats, self-storage facilities, car washes. Everywhere you look, these kinds of businesses are quietly making an absolute fortune. And why is that? Because they're reliable and, honestly, pretty much recession-proof. They're providing those essential, everyday services that people are always going to need, no matter what the broader economy or the stock market happens to be doing. Which brings us to Section 2, your unfair tech advantage. So you might be wondering, how do I, a young, pretty, cash-strapped person, actually break into this market? Well, here's the secret. Because these businesses aren't glamorous, most ambitious people just completely ignore them. As a result, the majority of these boring businesses are run by an older generation. These are owners who are often just stuck in the past. We're talking outdated systems, messy physical cash registers, and zero marketing. Absolutely zero. They are missing out on incredible growth just because they don't get the digital landscape. And that means your youth and just your everyday digital literacy are literally your absolute secret weapons. And the sheer scale of this opportunity is wild. $500,000 to nearly $1 million, that is the typical annual revenue of a local car wash. Just try to imagine how much more that exact same business could be worth if it simply had a sleek, professional website or a modern online booking system. I mean, it's already generating massive cash flow while operating in the dark ages. The crazy part is, most of these owners don't even realize that there are incredibly simple online tools out there for managing teams or handling digital invoicing or setting up automated booking systems. This is the big technological gap, and it positions you perfectly. You don't need to be some sort of coding genius, right? You just need to know how to seamlessly fill these specific gaps using a laptop and readily available off-the-shelf software. All right, let's talk about how to do this in Section 3. The zero capital execution. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to just go out and buy a car wash right now. But the beauty of this strategy is you don't actually need the capital to start. Here is the exact step-by-step playbook for the zero capital model. First, you find one of these outdated businesses in your local area. Second, you approach the owner and offer to totally level up their business with modern tech upgrades using an all-in-one platform like Odoo. That's spelled O-D-O-O. And here's the kicker. You offer to do the implementation entirely for free. Third, you negotiate a profit split. You take a cut of the new, additional revenue that your software systems generate for them. It's a complete win-win because it's totally risk-free for the owner.
So the crucial point to remember here is just how rapidly you can actually execute this. From the very moment you open your laptop at 0 minutes, it might take you maybe 15 minutes to use an app to fully automate the billing for a self-storage facility, or maybe just 30 minutes to set up a slick online booking system for a local laundromat. You are literally dragging these businesses into the 21st century in less than an hour.
Let's put a real-world scenario to those numbers. Imagine you implement these modern systems for an owner, again, entirely for free. Because of the new online bookings, the automated follow-ups, and the streamlined invoicing, that business generates an extra $50,000 in annual profit that very year. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute power of the profit split. If you negotiated just a 20% cut of that newly generated $50,000, well, that puts $10,000 straight into your pocket. And that's just from helping one single client for a few hours of setup work on your laptop. It's a total game changer. Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 4, Mindset for Financial Freedom.
To truly execute this, you kind of need to pick up a mirror instead of a magnifying glass and take some real responsibility. Stop overanalyzing and blaming the system. Look at yourself and take complete ownership of your own financial future. You also really need to redefine what money actually is. The wealthy understand that the true function of money is expansion. It's about using your money to make more money. So once you start stacking that cash from your software profit splits, you don't just go out and spend it. You eventually use those profits to buy equity or buy your own entirely boring assets. You use your earnings to essentially buy a golden goose that just sits there laying golden eggs for you while you sleep.
But be careful, because there is a massive trap here, and it's captured perfectly in this quote from our source. Arrogance is a silent wealth killer. So many people fail because they honestly think they're simply too good or too highly educated for unsexy, boring work like optimizing a dry cleaner. But that arrogance, it literally blinds you to the huge opportunities sitting right in front of you. And, the other great wealth killer is the whole excuse of time. The classic, I'm too busy. So let's just break the math down really quick. There are 168 hours in every single week. Even if you have a highly demanding full-time job or you're studying full-time and you get a full, healthy amount of sleep every single night, the math shows you still have over 50 hours of pure free time every single week. Which leaves us with this final, totally inescapable question. If you have those 50 hours and you aren't willing to use that free time to build your future and tap into this suburban goldmine, well, do you really want financial freedom enough? It's out there, it's boring, and it's incredibly lucrative. The only question is whether you'll put your arrogance aside and just get to work. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go out and look at the local businesses in your own neighborhood with a fresh set of eyes today.